you all. Welcome to session 13 of Life and Homeopathy Through My Eyes. And the topic today is bonding with teenagers. Teenage is that phase of life where our children are neither kids nor mature adults for the most part of it. It is that phase of life where our children are lovable, adorable kids turn into little devils many a times. Often you would find yourself saying, we never troubled our parents as much as you do. Or you would be saying, we were better behaved than what you are today. Let me tell you that it's inappropriate for us to compare our children. For times were different, parenting style was different, the struggle of those days were different. And also, those days, children had lot of outdoor activities, they enjoyed themselves to the fullest in spite of the struggles. And to top it all, competition was at an absolute low. Not only that, media influences were almost negligible. Well, it is also inappropriate for us to compare our teenagers with another teenager today. Because let me tell you, every teenager, well, for that matter, any and every individual is different. He or she responds, reacts in a manner depending on lot of factors. It could be their genetic makeup, heredity, parental influences, the upbringing that I am talking about, peer pressure, society, school, lot of factors play a role. Also, media influence, the stress and struggle of today's life, and what with the competition that is at the highest. Well, friends, well, viewers, let's take and consider what are the qualities or what strengths our teenagers have, and let's stand by their struggles and support them by understanding them better. Who could help us better today than a very senior psychiatrist, highly experienced in this field, Dr. Anukant Mittal. I'm at a loss of words. I do not know where to start to introduce him. He is the professor and head at Rajiv Gandhi Medical College. He is unit head to UNESCO. He is the external counselor to the UN. He has practiced for a number of years in UK and Switzerland. After coming back, he was consultant at Bombay Hospital for quite a few years. If that is not enough, I would like to say he is also the vice president of the Private Indian Psychiatry Association. So with 35 years of practice and more behind him, there's lots that we could learn from Dr. Anukant Mittal. Dr. Anukant, we are looking forward to having you on our session soon, and I am awaiting your request. Yes, Dr. Anukant Mittal. I cannot see, so, well, till Dr. Mittal joins us. Yes, there I can see his request. Yes, just a few seconds to go before Dr. Mittal joins us.
Am I visible to you?
Yes, sir. Yes, but the last button which has the rotation, so you could probably press on that. So you.
I can't hear you, sorry.
Yes, perfect. So can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Right. So it's a privilege and honor to have you with us, Dr. Mittal.
Right. I have to
Sir,
take
again,
it.
yes.
Right. Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah. Tell me.
So, Dr. Mittal, we are glad to have you here. Our viewers have been waiting to hear from you.
Okay.
And we are talking today about teenage bonding.
Right.
So I would like to go with the first question related to the teenagers itself, because today our session is based on that.
Right.
So what are the common difficulties that you faced in your practice related to teenagers? You have seen in your practice
Yeah.
related to teenagers.
Well, not exactly only seen. We have also undergone teenage ourselves, the adolescent years. As we call them, instead of using the word teenager or adolescents, probably call them young adults now, because. But that is the time when a lot of upheavals and changes take place. Every individual in that age group, starting from physiological changes in their body chemistry, in the physical structure, in the way they look, the way they talk, the voice changes, their body structure changes, girls develop breasts, external genitals, all those things change. They're dealing with that. In addition, there is a transition from the 10 years they've spent in particular school with a particular group of friends. They change to high school, junior college, the schools change. The very disciplined life that they lead in school changes to an open life in colleges, and these are all the changes that they experience inward and outward. In addition to that, of course, there are a lot of stressors because they are looking for their own identity. They learn to think, analyze, and developmentally their thinking becomes more analytical, more deeper. They start developing opinions on things. They start developing perspectives on things, which may not be in keeping with their families or their friends' perspectives. So there are a lot of peer pressures, peer changes that happen. And of course, this is also a time when they have to look forward to their interests, their futures, plan their careers, their lives. Everything depends on them at this stage. And these responsibilities are not small responsibilities,
Right.
And not to sound very patronizing, but at this stage, they face what we call as a double bind. The parents end up, the society actually ends up treating them differently at different times. If they are in a group of people, adults sitting and talking, and they express their opinion, everybody says, "Chh, बड़ों जैसी बात मत करो, तुम अभी भी बच्चे हो." And on the contrary, if their behavior is slightly irresponsible or they are fooling around, somebody admonishes them and says, "अरे, इतने बड़े हो गए, अब थोड़ी बच्चे हो तुम, बड़ों जैसा व्यवहार." So they are at a loss, because they don't know when are they to take an independent decision, when they are not allowed to take an independent decision. How do they behave with each other, with adults, with juniors, and of course the pressure of society. What you mentioned about careers and lives and objectives, these all become something very, 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 very serious for them, and this creates a lot of issues. I mean, primary issues are these which affect them a lot.
Right. So in short, you have really given us a peek into their world and made us understand what they are going through at different aspects. The age 13 to 19, the teen age group, has lots to deal with. Be it their hormones, puberty, as you very rightly explained, and at the same time, it is the age where they have to deal with their career, because they are 10, they are 12, graduation, all falls during that age group. And they are experiencing lot of other stresses and struggles related to their influences around them. So going ahead, Dr. Mittal, as you use the word identity, this is the age where they're trying to develop their identity. So what is it that helps them to develop their self-esteem?
Primarily, they need unconditional, non-judgmental support from the only people that they actually trust deep down.
Right.
The people they know who love them, unconsciously, consciously, they are aware that these are the people who will stand by them regardless of what happens. And that is the parents and the family.
True.
And at this stage, the function of the family is to provide this unconditional support within certain parameters, because they are exploring their world, they are going to explore the limits. So their identity is established by getting support and encouragement from their family and approval from them. So here the major conflicts start, because inadvertently it is the family which tends to impose their unfulfilled wishes and values on the children. They try to set up targets for them, they try to set up goals for them, and kind of make it obvious that their approval and love is dependent on the children conforming to, or the young adults conforming to, the expectations and goals set by the parents or the family.
Right.
And so once they have this support, then the quest for the identity begins. For instance, if a child is very interested in a particular sport or music,
True.
If the parents allow the child to explore their passion, at the same time knowing very well that yes, there may be a possibility that you need to have a fallback of your studies there, but not making the 3 R's, the reading, writing and arithmetic, as the prime approval source of a child's performance. They will let the child know that it is important, but not necessary for you to score 100%. As long as you also are able to understand how much importance an education has, but you are free to pursue your passion in the meantime, and that becomes important.
Right. So what I understand is for each young adult, as you termed them, it's important to follow their own passion and dreams rather than copying, mimicking someone else, and also to remember that their true friends will always be their true friends, irrespective of how different they are.
Absolutely.
Right.
But as I said that.
Hello, sir, we can't hear you. I think there are some net issues. Hello, can you all hear me? Sorry, I missed.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So yeah, it is like, but as I said, that they may have misguided loyalties and ideas which may not be feasible, which may not be coinciding with a good life or success in the future. And so there should be somebody who should be able to ground them in reality and work. And that is, as I said, the relationship with the family should be such that there is this understanding that whatever they are saying and doing is for my benefit, is for my good, and they should work with it.
Yes. Very well you put this last sentence, because I feel tomorrow when they will look back at life, they will realize that every time when parents actually rejected something they thought was good, actually they were redirecting them to something which was better.
Better, yeah.
Yes.
That's the main thing.
And so, yes. And so one more thing I would like to add. Can I?
Yeah, please.
So while we are forming our self-esteem, teenagers, it's also important that we value others equally, respect them, not bully them, not body shame them, or not alienate them just because they are different. Many a times you will find somebody being very quiet, sitting alone. You never know what their struggles are in life. So, and these people sometimes may turn out to be the best of friends. So we need to keep our own self-esteem also to be built up. As we are giving importance to that, and also at the same time taking care of how our behavior is towards others. So,
unless,
sir, this
rightly as you said,
sir.
Unless I am confident of myself, unless I am happy with myself, if I am frustrated, if I am depressed, if I am, agitated, obviously I am not going to react positively to people around me. But if I am comfortable, if I am happy, if I am able to pursue my passions, if I am very much with my, comfortable with myself, then I will be able to give positive vibes and work positively with everyone around me. And that's exactly what we say, And that's how the young adults form cliques. Why do they form groups? They form groups, they gravitate towards people who think like them, who behave like them, who have the same set of ideals. So, amongst themselves as a group, they feel comfortable. And that is why they form cliques or groups.
Right. Right. So going ahead, sir, Dr. Mittal, I would like to say, as we are talking about the struggles, the stresses in their life, some amount of pressure which builds up stress is sometimes good for them because it gives them a push, it gives them a direction, it helps them to perform better. But if this pressure or stress really builds up beyond levels that they can handle, it could actually affect their performance adversely. Well, I'm talking about exams. So how would you help our young adults to deal with exams? Because most of their important exams, be it the 10th, 12th boards as we spoke, the competitive exams, all are falling in this age group. So how would you help them, Dr. Mittal?
We actually classify these years as crucial life building years. If these years pass you by in any tensions, depressions, anxieties, lack of confidence, whatever issues, if these 4-5 years pass you by, all your major exams pass you by, and then you can never catch up, academically. So these are, yes, very crucial. As you said, performance and anxiety for failure, anxiety of failure for exams is one of the prime reasons why students are not able to perform to the best of their ability. Many ways to go and handle it. One, let's begin with what is anxiety. Anxiety is essential for life. Why do you come to work? Why do I come to work? Because we want to earn money. Why did we study during our childhood? Because we wanted to get good marks, get into a good college, get into a good profession, start earning well, so we had a comfortable life. So it was primarily the primal instinct of survival which led us to the anxiety of survival. When we cross the road, the anxiety of not being hit by a car makes us look right and left. So anxiety is essential. When you come to your studies, when you're in the board years, as we call it, board exam going. When you enter that year, your regular study hours increases from 2 to 3, 3.5, 4 hours. Then comes the time when suddenly, your tests come, which are going to contribute internal assessment marks towards your board. So you start studying 4.5, 5 hours. Then comes your board application. You fill in the form. So you start studying 6 to 8 hours. Then come your prelims. You're studying 10 hours. Then, of course, your hall ticket. This is the final nail that, tells you, yes, you have hit it now. You're there at the board exam. So you start studying 12 hours and your performance goes better. So anxiety has a linear relationship with performance to a certain point. And that's a break point.
True.
Beyond that, the body reactions created by anxiety overpower your performance. They hamper it, and you panic, you black out, you start getting fear. And that is why many children, many adults, young adults come back and say they went blank in an exam. They knew everything, but at that moment when the question paper came in their hands, they just went blank and they didn't remember anything. And they handed in a blank paper in case. Or they wrote something but didn't remember what was to be written. So how do you deal with that? The best way I tell everybody, the last 2 months of your exam going year is preparing for exam. The whole previous years you've studied for knowledge. The last 2 months you have to write 2 model papers for 3 hours each, like you were preparing for an exam. You get practice of writing. You get practice because this is preparing for the exam. Right? It's a separate art form. You know, to get 90% plus or to be in the top percentile, you have to be able to present, because what you have written for 3 hours, the examiner corrects in less than 3 minutes.
Yes.
Right? And what you have learned in 3 years, you write in 3 hours and the examiner corrects in 3 minutes.
Right.
So you have to learn to present what you know in such a way that at a first glance, the examiner should be able to see what you've done. Right? And that comes only with practice. So I advise all the students who come to me, in the last 2 months, no fresh study. What you know, you should be able to present in such a way that you get 70, 80, 90% in that. So, you know, and that is the main objective, to be able to present well. When they practice doing this, when they get the paper inadvertently, half the questions they have already practiced writing answers to. So they get the confidence. And when they start writing with confidence, the other questions which they probably have not written, but they know the answer to, they are able to write it more easily. And that is one of the best ways to practice for an exam, is to keep writing exam papers every day. That's the basic.
True. So in short, practice makes a man perfect. Goes well over here too. Yes.
It holds well across all generations, all ages.
Right. So thank you, Dr. Mittal. That was very well put about how students can deal with the most important stress that they go through, the young adults, is related to exams.
Yeah.
Going ahead, often parents say, on one hand, we say, oh, we are proud that our children are walking, talking Wikipedias, or they are our Google. On the other hand, parents are all the time complaining about their kids being on the mobile the full day and they're not having personal interaction or, you know, other things. So how would you advise parents and teenagers on this?
Very, very relevant to ask this now. Probably we would have had a different answer a year ago. The answer has changed now. There is no way you can regulate. There is no way, because it has now become the official medium of education, of knowledge gathering, of curriculum, of social contact, whatever you call it. It is no longer a phone. It is a communicator. It's a communicator device. And we have to understand that the only way you can make sure that a young adult learns to use it properly. I mean, I forget young adults. When I used to do live meetings like this, there's a group which teaches responsible netizen, and I learned it from them, was to ask everybody to just go on to your battery usage on your phone and check which app, how much time have you used, and you would find that how much time you spend on WhatsApp, how much time you spend on the net, you know, that kind of stuff. So you would get an idea of how much are you using the phone for what. responsible netizen and what we need to teach our young adults is that there are negotiables and non-negotiables, right? They need to prioritize their time, that they are going to spend this time to this time on social media. This time, obviously, if they were going to school for 6 hours in school, they were not going to be on the net because that's not allowed. So if they are online classes, then they have to make sure that for those 6 hours, they are not going to touch the social media. They are going to constantly keep on to the link of their academic activity.
Right.
When they come back home, like they would have come back home, finished their homework, they have to finish their homework online. They must finish their homework, their assignments, their projects, whatever research they need to do it then. And then on the specific times that they have allotted, of course, they can decide amongst their friends what is the time when all of them are going to be together on WhatsApp or on Instagram or on Twitter, and then get on to that. And then, spend a couple of hours gossiping, chatting, meeting, discussing songs, whatever, and then go back to what they need to do. And this regulation, this is very similar. This is very similar to what 10 years ago. 10 years ago, we were teaching parents of latchkey children. I don't know if you got the concept. We had this double income families, double parent, both the parents were working. The child would come back home, let themselves in with a latchkey, and have the run of the house with the TV on, with all the multiple channels on. So the child had to be taught that by the time the parents come home, you should have finished your homework, you should have finished your studies, so that after finishing that, whatever time is left is yours. So the more quick you finish your assignments and work, that much more time you have to watch TV. The same thing happens here, right? It's because you have to understand, a young adult is always going to test the limits. And parents have to set the boundaries. And these boundaries are not only in use of net or use of phones, these boundaries are in every aspect of life. What boundaries and self-regulation you teach your young adults is what they carry in life with them.
True.
And this is the beginning of setting boundaries and setting up rules and regulations.
Right.
So you have to leave it to them in today's world.
So in short, what we understand here, let technology be a boon and use it judiciously as and when needed for the right purpose.
Absolutely.
While not compromising on the other aspects of life, well-being, or personal interaction, development of talent, outdoor sport. So let us use it judiciously is what Dr. Mittal has just told us, in short, actually what he has been saying. So Dr. Mittal, going ahead, often parents complain that our children are very rebellious or aggressive. So I find many a times this stems out of the fact that they are looking out for more freedom. So what and how much freedom should one give to the teenagers, to the young adults? How would you define freedom?
Well, freedom is freedom. There is no definition of that. Self-control and self-regulation of behaviors in home, outside, what is acceptable to the parents as per their culture, as per their own norms, their own social and setting, is up to them, their value systems. So here again, I will use the terms negotiable and non-negotiable. So you have to decide what is negotiable, what is non-negotiable. So like coming home by 12 o'clock is non-negotiable, right? Okay. Bringing your boyfriend, girlfriend home is permitted, but taking them to your room and locking the door, non-negotiable, right? Going out with friends, overnight picnics is negotiable as far as the parents have met the friends and have spoken to the parents of the friends, and they know, all of them know where the children are going and how they're going, etc. Right? Same thing about spending money. How much money is to be spent on what? The parents, the guardians need to sit with the young adults. They are, as I said, the double bind here applies. You need to treat them. If you tell them तुम्हें पैसे की कोई कीमत नहीं है, तो आपने कीमत समझाई है. यदि आप हर दिन घर पे आके अपना बैग खोल के उसमें से 2,500 रुपए की गड्डियां निकाल के तिजोरी में ऐसे ही डाल रहे हैं, तो आप बच्चे को क्या सिखा रहे हैं? राइट? ओके, you have to let them understand what is the income, where is the income coming from, what are the essential expenses, what are the non-essential expenses, what is the leftover, what is recreational expenses, what is the reserve fund, how much is the pocket money, and you have to teach them, because this is the age where they learn to budget themselves.
True.
We used to get pocket money, and we, of course, used to bunk maybe school sometimes, in college, go for movies, but we used to save up for the ticket.
True.
And भाई उस जमाने में भी टिकट की कॉस्ट इतनी नहीं होती थी, पर उस समय पैसा भी उतना नहीं मिलता था.
Right.
So we were told कि okay, you can go for a movie, inform us that you're going for a movie, पर आपके पॉकेट मनी से टिकट निकाल के. So that is how we had to learn to manage in that budget. So these are, as I said, boundaries, and these are negotiations that you need to do with your kids, right? And the primary thing, what I believe is, the irritation and the frustration and the rebellion comes from the fact, when parents come to me, I ask them a question. Many of them get hurt, and many of our listeners may probably not like it, but my question is, you have a teenage child who's आपके दिल का चिराग है, आपके एप्पल ऑफ योर आई है, उसके 5 क्लोजेस्ट फ्रेंड्स जिसके साथ वो पूरा दिन गुजारते हैं, उनके नाम क्या है? उनके फोन नंबर हैं आपके पास? उनके माँ बाप क्या करते हैं, कहाँ रहते हैं? ये आपके बच्चे के जो 5 मित्र फ्रेंड्स हैं, ये जिंदगी में क्या बनना चाहते? Right?
True. Absolutely.
Okay. Have you met them? Have you called them home? Do they come home and do they talk to you? Do they know how you think? Do you know how they think? That kind of stuff. You don't have to be friends with them. आप गले में हाथ डाल के दोस्ती मत कीजिए, पर कम से कम ये रिश्ता उनके साथ होना चाहिए कि कल को आपका बच्चा आके कहता है कि डैडी, तो परेश के पिताजी आईसीयू में एडमिट हैं, एंड यू टर्न एंड आस्क हिम, कौन परेश? राइट? सो यू आर टेलिंग द चाइल्ड, आई एम नॉट पार्टिसिपेटिंग इन योर लाइफ. यदि आप अपने बच्चे की लाइफ में पार्टिसिपेट नहीं कर रहे, तो वो आपके साथ क्या शेयर कर रहा है? यही कि मैथ्स में मेरे को 78 मिले, अंग्रेजी में मेरे को 55 मिले. That is not sharing life.
Yes.
Right? So the rebellion and the irritation, of course, comes because the child is going to face a lot of pressure, trying to fit in with the peer groups, trying to adjust to the environment, trying to adjust to the studies, the pressure of work, assignments, friends, her own sexual urges, the hormonal changes, right? The body image. They're trying to cope with that. वो frustration वो निकालेंगे किस पे? They expect to come home, and since you are the only people that they trust, they expect that you should be able to share that with you. But when they are not, they get resentful. And that is where the differences come.
Right.
You don't have to speak their lingo. Don't try to speak the language. I mean, you can never catch them. Okay? I take daily lessons, but I still can't catch them. right? So it's very difficult. You speak your language. You don't have to speak their language. Try to learn technology from them. We cannot say that, we don't know technology. I mean, technology was invented by our generation for their generation, right? So we can learn if we make attempts to, but but we need to be sharing their lives. That is the most important thing, right? Okay, that is
So beautifully and very informative, Dr. Mittal. You gave us a complete understanding of what and how we as parents actually have to be for us to be a part of their lives. So, in short, it would be like we need to understand what the negotiables, we need to put forth to our children what the negotiables are and the non-negotiables are by putting up our values from a very young age where they can actually grow up with it, and then it becomes comparatively easy for them, though with their age and mindset they may not agree, but still if we have inculcated certain values from a younger age, it becomes still better for them to understand, yes, our family has these as negotiables and these as non-negotiables. And naturally, we as parents would always keep in mind the safety concerns of our children also when we are telling them about negotiables and non-negotiables too. So
it is very, can I interrupt you? It is not only about these things. It is also because, let me take a couple of minutes here to explain to you. Seeing a lot of divorce rates, lot of divorce cases. Why? बच्चा 10वीं में है, बोर्ड की पढ़ाई कर रहा है, फिर 12वीं की पढ़ाई कर रहा है, मेडिकल इंजीनियरिंग, आर्किटेक्चर में, लॉ में कहीं ज्वाइन करना है, एंट्रेंस की पढ़ाई कर रहा है, फिर प्रोफेशनल कोर्स ज्वाइन कर लिया, डेली वीकली असाइनमेंट्स हैं, प्रोफेशनल कोर्स है, बहुत पढ़ना पड़ता है, बहुत कॉम्पिटिटिव है, उसके बाद इंटर्नशिप्स हैं, पोस्टिंग्स हैं, देन नया जॉब लग गया, उसके बीच में शादी हो गई. The child has never learned to make tea. The child had never learned to cook food, had never learned to wash his own clothes or her own clothes, never learned how to put up, I'm not saying wash with hand. अरे वॉशिंग मशीन तो लोड करना, सेट करना सीखो, अनलोड करके उसको ड्राई करना सीखो, कि कपड़े इनसाइड आउट सुखाए जाते हैं, आउटसाइड इन उतारे जाते हैं, learn how to iron your clothes, learn how to sort out your clothes, learn how to prioritize your eating time, your sleeping time, your working time. So अपना क्या होता है, 12th के बाद, ग्रेजुएशन के बाद बच्चा सडनली वन डे गोज अब्रॉड. अब्रॉड जाने के बाद he has to adjust to a new city, new country, new language, new people, new culture. He studies, washing, drying his own clothes, folding them, taking care of his books, taking care of his food, cleaning up his room, washing his socks, all these things, and attend classes and do assignments, and they collapse.
Right.
So right from an early age, if we start giving them negotiable, कि भाई आप हफ्ते में कपड़े अपने धोएंगे रेगुलरली 2 महीने तक, तो we'll buy you that favorite shirt that you're looking at.
True.
If you take care of your shoes, you bring them, take care of them, clean them, put them up properly, that pair of sneakers, that special sneakers that you wanted, or that pair of shoes that you wanted, we'll buy that. So everything becomes contingent and negotiated, right? And that helps them develop life skills, because they are then trained, right? They are then trained to be able to lead an independent life while pursuing their own careers and their own dreams.
Right.
They're not handicapped. They don't have to learn those in addition to learning what is necessary.
True.
That is something important.
Wow, this was really an eye-opener, because nowadays children are not used to doing these different things other than studying, and they are actually the life lessons what you have rightly put up, Dr. Mittal. And it's very important that we train our children not only to get good marks or to stand first, but we give them an overall understanding about what life is and make them do the different things related to life and for living.
Yeah.
Because that's what as you started with the talk about divorce, many a times, these are the basic things actually because of which marriages fail, where they do not know and do not cooperate, or there is no understanding because of the things other than their career that they have to also manage in life.
Absolutely.
So, Dr. Mittal, while we are coming to an end because time is pressing, it's really very informative. There's so much to hear from you, learn from you, and I'm sure our viewers are really, really wanting to have more about things that you have experienced in your practice from teenagers, from the parents, and personal life too. But since we are pressed for time, I would come up with my last question.
Right.
What is that little advice that you would want to give a parent or a teenager?
Talk to each other. Discuss. Because for a parent, your child is your child. आपके दिल का टुकड़ा है. आपने इसको जन्म दिया है, परवरिश की है. हर एक माँ बाप यही कहते हैं कि हम खून पसीना बहाते हैं अपने बच्चों की खुशी के लिए. तो वो खुश रहे, इसके लिए उन्हें सिखाइए खुशी कैसे रहे. एंड टू एवरी चाइल्ड कि देयर इज नो मदर फादर इन दिस वर्ल्ड who is trained from birth to be a mother father. Parenting is not a skill that you're born with.
Right.
The skill that your parents are born with is love and caring. So whatever they do at any given time may be wrong. They're human. But their intentions have always been to do the best.
Right.
So cooperate with them. Work with them. Negotiate with them, discuss with them, share your dreams with them, listen to them. They have experience behind them. They have experienced life, they have experienced struggles, they have met different kinds of people, and all those things you can carry with you.
Right.
So learn, as I said, there are loads of things you will never be able to tell your parents. You will never be able to tell them you're smoking weed. You'll never be able to tell them that you're sleeping around. No. Right? I mean, you may have that. If that is the relationship you have, excellent. I mean, that is the best aim. But at least what I would aim for is that you should be able to discuss with your parents what your career choices are, what your desires, what your passions are, and what your weaknesses are, and take advice from them how to overcome your weaknesses. Right? And share with them so that they can also recognize your strengths and help you capitalize on your strengths. Right? Because finally, you come from the same stock. You're partly you are one. So live together, and be together. That's the most important thing.
Right. Very well said, Dr. Mittal. So while we come to the end of our session today, viewers, let me tell you just sum it up of what Dr. Mittal just said. Well, our children are today, they are intelligent, they are smart, they can stand up for themselves, they are confident. Let us be a part of their struggles too while we praise them for what they are. Let there be no regrets in life and only lessons that they learn. And let's rejoice with our family in this beautiful land called life.
Yeah.
So with this, I would like to say a big, big thank you to you, Dr. Mittal. It was really an honor, a privilege to have you on our session today. And looking forward to having many more such sessions with you related to different topics, because your experience really is vast in different aspects of mental health concerns, problems, and we shall take it ahead further. Thank you so much, Dr. Mittal. Thank you, viewers. It was nice having you on our session. Do share this video with other parents, teenagers. Let them to learn what Dr. Mittal has explained, has taught us. The informative session that it was, you never know. You could change many lives by sharing this video. So have a great evening, a great weekend. See you next week, same day, same time. Thank you, viewers.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Mittal. Thank you.